There it is, the great city of Chicago, where dreams come true and get shattered, and where money gets made and lost. And there it is. This is a typical type of investment property you're going to get in the city. These are beautiful buildings, pre-war buildings, built in a way that will never be replicated nowadays. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm in Chicago right now, and today's video is about how how anybody gets to a place where they can get nice things. Now, nice things can be toys like sports cars. Nice things can be paying for your kids' education, maybe buying a nice house or going on vacation or whatever fits your fancy. I got to where I was really in two ways, and everybody has a different path. One, as you know, I'm a practicing physician. That was my foundation. I worked hard, I had a supportive family, and I got a very good education. All right, probably shouldn't talk too much while doing this little part, because this little part is tricky, but look at this city. Look how great this city is. In 2010, I started off by buying a condo in downtown Chicago. After that, I got in my mind that, you know what, there's an opportunity here to make some decent money. So I took whatever money I was earning, and at that time we were renting an apartment for pretty cheap in Wisconsin. And I went with it. This was after the 2008 recession, when all the banks sort of almost collapsed. Tons of property available for cheap throughout the city. And so another thing was websites like Redfin and LoopNet and some of those sites that are so prevalent today were relatively new. So not a lot of people were using them. Well, I got in on those websites kind of early, and I was finding all sorts of cheap property. And because of my job, I had a decent amount of cash laying around. I just went ahead and took the risk. I started out by buying cheap property, getting a contractor, and rehabbing. And after I rehabbed, I got the units rented out. And at that time, I would own the building free and clear without any debt. Then I take it to the bank, get it appraised, and then refi. And when you refi, that means you get all your cash out of the property. And with that cash, I'd move on to the next project. I did that for a couple of years until property prices just got too high to keep doing that. So I ended up having to finance to acquire properties. And with that, it's not quite as profitable. I had some hits and misses with that. But, I pulled through, kept on going, and you learn through the process. You learn what's a good acquisition and what's the right price. Now, one thing I want to warn people about is, there are a few pitfalls. The first one is, and I guess I wouldn't really call it a pitfall, but know your area. Now, this seems obvious, but it really is true. And it's amazing how much people don't really do this research. They just sort of buy out of excitement, or maybe because they're just in love with the place. Well, a city like Chicago is a huge city. There are so many submarkets here, you wouldn't believe it. Rents can change from just within a few blocks. There are areas of town that are highly desirable with, really skyrocketing rents, and just a few blocks away, completely different story. Know what makes rents higher and what makes rents lower. Now, some of that just comes from experience. So for me in Chicago, I've learned being near the train isn't as appealing as you would think. People do want to be near a train station, but they don't want to be right next to the tracks. When you're next to the tracks, well, the tracks in this city are elevated usually. They make a lot of noise, and that ends up being a turnoff. The second thing is bedroom sizes. Unlike New York, people here want their space. They want big bedrooms. I have a couple of buildings with smaller bedrooms. It's always been a challenge getting the rents that I want in those units. But I have some buildings where I have bigger bedrooms. So you learn from your current inventory what to pursue with your next acquisition. The next thing I would call a major pitfall is the agents. Now, these agents or brokers who are trying to sell you the buildings, they have one interest and one interest only: to sell their product, or to sell the product, and to get their commission. Now, the thing with the brokers is they always come up with this, financial summary of the property, and that summary is always a bunch of BS, okay? The rent rolls are probably going to be the most accurate thing because you really can't fabricate that, and the property taxes. But the rest, they're going to have a pro forma, which is when optimize how well this building can perform, and it exaggerates the rents almost always. Do not believe it. Always take the revenue of the building at face value. What rent the building is getting now is the market value, unless you go in with more of your own money to renovate the units. But if that's not the plan, then that's the revenue of the building. Ignore the pro forma. Then you have the expenses. The expenses are often a lot of BS. I always see them diminishing the expenses from reality. I've seen management fees that were just ridiculously low. I have properties, I have them under management. I know what management costs. I've seen maintenance costs that were, significantly below reality. I've seen the same with utility costs. So you're going to want to take whatever they give you as a gross underestimation of the real costs to maintain that property. So these are important tips to keep in mind. But if you do decide to pursue real estate, wherever you are, it can be a great way to make money and a great way to have toys. Thanks to everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.